Greetings everyone. So, playing in South America as one of the natives, how do you play them and what are their specialties? So, South Americans are one of the nations together with Central Americans which have their own religions which are needed to be reformed to be able to survive in the later years after the European colonists come. So their early game development is all centered around this. So you have to do 5 religious reforms and you have to uh, gain authority to be able to pick them. So this is uh, the opposite of Central American uh, playstyle, where you have to keep the doom as low as possible while making the reforms. So in order to get to make the actual reforms, you have to be at peace, uh, have few rebels, stability at least 1, authority needs to be at 100, which is the maximum, and you need to have at least 10 provinces. And the authority increases slowly depending on your development. So you are so opposite of Central American nations, where you have to keep small and have vassals to do reforms. You are here incentivized to actually expand as much as possible and increase your development as much as possible. So at the beginning of the game, you have very small increase every year. You also can get it from random events that may give you +5, +10 authority. There are also negative options which will decrease it. So and also you have increases and decreases depending on your autonomy of your provinces. So when you conquer enemy provinces, increasing autonomy will also decrease your authority. So when you increase the autonomy by 25%, your authority will drop by 5 points. So conquering a few provinces may decrease a lot of your authority if you decide to increase the autonomy. And in reverse, it also works that if you actually decrease the autonomy, your authority will increase. But in the meantime, they have some bonuses that decrease the unrest. So fighting and conquering provinces and not increasing autonomy still works. So the rebels aren't that bad. So what happens when you take one of these reforms? When you meet all the requirements and you take it, you get the bonus, which is one, and as well your authority decreases back to 0, and you lose 2 stability points, as well as rebels pop up which oppose the reforms. So you have to deal with them. So in case your country is broken by these rebels, religious reforms will be taken down, so it can set you back a lot if you actually fail. So you have to be ready to press the button. So for example, if you have other rebels or maybe very low manpower. You have to think about it if you are ready to take on the rebels. Uh, in my experience, these reforms take quite a bit of time uh, compared to nations in Central America, because there, if you are lucky and you get the you can get vassals fast, you can do all the reforms very quickly. In here you are very limited by the slow increase each year. The the main possibilities on increasing this yearly authority change is to either conquer enemy provinces, uh, colonize new provinces, or increase the development of your existing provinces. So conquering enemy provinces is the main thing you can do, but it's a limited opportunity. You don't have that many enemies, but of course it will also be important for forming the empire, because you need other cores, so you'll be doing that anyway. uh, but even at that, uh, the authority will still remain not that high, uh, because in my playthrough I gained up to like 7 to 8 authority change each year. So but that was with all these enemy provinces conquered, as well as this one, and entering uh, to the north part of South America, as well as I had spent thousands and thousands of development points on my provinces. Uh, so the best civilization to pick for this is most likely the Cusco, because simply they start with a great general, which have 5 shock in the beginning, as well as other very good stats. So conquering these small enemies while having very low manpower and very slow gains each month, this general makes all the difference. Uh, you can conquer some of these and maybe make a vassal or two in the process from their allies, which are further away, so it changes everything. So you should try to keep this general and ruler as alive as long as possible. So with this you can easily shatter enemies with ease. So in my opinion, playing the South Americans and their unique religious methods requires that you pick very few technologies, uh, and I would argue that uh, you shouldn't pick any of these technologies. Maybe 1 or 2 levels in military technology, just to keep you uh, above your neighbors, so you can conquer them easily. Uh, but otherwise, I felt that improving your provinces is going to be more beneficial long term for your late game uh, play playthrough, to actually be able to fight off and conquer any provinces from the Europeans. And just to show you how great the general is, you can simply do a test with a war, and you have an army with no general over here. He hires a very low skilled general, which only in this case actually has 0 fire and 0 shock, and you can see he gets completely destroyed in this situation. So the general is very important. And also you have 2 siege bonuses that helps siege down these provinces quickly, and you lose a lot less on attrition. And the reforms you have to do on the way give you different bonuses. So you get core creation cost reduction, you get morale for your armies, you get yearly legitimacy, you get an extra colonist, and you also get manpower recovery speed. And when you finally do the last reform and do the what can be described as westernization, you still keep all these 5 bonuses on top of these bonuses, from which monthly autonomy change is a good bonus. So all in all, their religion is very strong. So even if you get the mission that you can convert to Christianity after you conquer some of the enemy provinces, this seems like a bad idea, and you definitely should keep your original religion to be more effective. So this is my current game which I'm playing. As you can see, I have formed the empire, I have made all the reforms, and also I'm a great power. I did one war with the English, from which I did the reform, and I took some of their provinces, five over here, plus this as a small colony, and starting from here all these provinces. As you can see, I have quite a bit of manpower, as well as a lot of money and a lot of spare income at the moment, and this ties together with my development, which is at 787, and from these provinces which I took in a war, it's only a very small portion. Most of that, more than 700, is from my own provinces, which are the original provinces, and all the neighboring enemies, as well as a bit of colonies. So what I did is I decided that I won't be going for technologies in the early game. I only took 1 level in military very early on, so I had a little bit of edge, because you get plus shock at level 2, and so it's easier to defeat them with the low resources as you have. And afterwards I spent all of my points just increasing these provinces. Of course it's not perfect. Of course you could do it more efficiently than I did, but it's really an in-depth progress you have to do together with your estates, and plan out and look at the trade goods. But so for example, my capital has been the most developed with very high stats, and you can see also the trade provinces which have bonuses expanded, and there are also provinces in the middle which have decent trade goods, which I try to develop more. So, for example, with lower trade goods, I focused maybe more on manpower and giving them the nobility. Uh, but otherwise, I spent thousands and thousands of points on development. So even even with the primitive bonus, negative bonus you get of plus 50% of cost increase, I still think it was a wise decision, because if I took for example administrative technologies up to level 5, which will take a lot of time, because you are at the beginning of the game you are already behind a lot, and afterwards take for example the exploration ideas to get a few more provinces with colonies. All the old colonies will be very well developed, so I might end up with actually with many provinces and not that much total development, as well as not that much income. So as well as also uh, force limits. I currently have 97. This has been increased by around 20 uh, from making the from making regimental camps, but uh, still around close to 80 is natural just from provinces and their development. So that's also very beneficial, and as well as that I have high manpower and a lot of income to sustain the armies, so I can a lot easier take take the provinces from the colonial nations, because you always have to remember that one on one you will be weaker than the colonial nations, even if you catch up in the technologies eventually. You have to take a lot of military ideas, but even then you'll, depending on which nation you are fighting, you'll still be a little bit behind, so you always need to have more manpower, more units fighting each enemy stack, so putting yourself at a disadvantage from the beginning of having low total manpower, as well as force limits, as well as having low income to sustain big armies, will be a huge disadvantage. So in that way, playing tall and developing a lot your provinces seem to be a better option than going for colonists. As well as, of course, the religious reforms also benefit quite a bit from developing your provinces, because I had around 7 to 8 points yearly increase of authority, and if I hadn't developed the provinces it would be much smaller, so it would be probably actually longer to do the reforms, even if I had more provinces because of colonies. But even then, the colonies, since you don't have any ideas that make your colonists better or more of them, you still get very few very slow speeds, because even when I'm westernized and with exploration ideas almost done, for example over here you can see I still have quite a bit of limited expansion of this colony is almost done. You get only 8% chance of increasing and 55 yearly, so, and most of these bonuses come from westernization, So before westernization, you have very limited yearly increases as well. So so in my game, where I had diplomacy technology at level 1 and no exploration ideas, I had this yearly increase of 10 settlers. And for example, uh, if your most uh, place where you have to go is north, because this is the area where the European colonists will first arrive. These are tropical areas, and tropical areas decrease settlers. So you have, when you want to colonize this province in that early game with colony no colonial ideas, uh, you get zero yearly increase in settlers. You only rely on random events that increase your number of settlers in the colony, and this percentage chance of increase. So even if I had some diplomacy technologies and the exploration ideas, the increase will still be very very slow. So you might get a few more provinces with the colonial ideas, but otherwise you you miss out a lot of, of on income and manpower and everything else. So I also noticed this in my uh, Aztec playthrough, where I went heavily on the for the ideas, and I ended up with a situation where when I was westernized, I wasn't getting too much income, uh, and it was actually hard uh, to develop, to make a big enough army, and especially since I was doing the Sunset Invasion achievement, I also needed quite a bit of ships, which were also weaker than European ships, so I needed more ships, and those those big primary ships, heavy ships, cost a lot of money to maintain. So that combined together uh, with money issues, I couldn't afford much forts. So I also always had the issue of enemy running through my lands in Americas, while I'll try to fight them in the Europe. So it was always a very hard situation to keep control of. So my advice would be uh, to expand at the beginning as fast as possible, develop your provinces as fast as possible, do the religious reforms as fast as you can, and of course keep the current faith, and do not convert to Christianity, because you'll lose all these good bonuses. So, but when afterwards, when you have reached a certain point where you are a great power, you have enough manpower, military, as well as you are quite close in the technological space, as well as you have completed quite a few military ideas, it shouldn't be that hard to actually conquer and as well as colonize most of South America, and eventually take it all to be able to get the achievement of owning everything in South America as a nation starting there. So I hope this is you find this helpful, and good luck with your South American conquests.